Surprise, 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 surprise. Yep, you thought you guys were just going to get 2 episodes. No, not really, because we still got some things we got to talk about if we can be honest here. So this episode is probably going to be fairly light, but we do have some things that we do need to talk about, especially last night's game, which is very controversial, okay? We got to talk about the Ravens and Browns game that's going to be coming up on Sunday. Texans and Colts, Cowboys and 49ers. And something that I think we need to be talking about at this point in the season. We'll probably do it probably around Thanksgiving again, and then probably once the season is getting ready to end. But who's at a crossroads? Who's at a crossroad? Who is on the right path? Who is on the wrong path? And who right now is at the fork in the road? All of this and more, okay, on the 44th episode of the greatest football podcast that you could possibly listen to on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis, okay? I am your host, your chief Bagrodamus, chief head of the table, okay? Chief bag meteorologist, okay? I am your GM who currently is not on the team right now, but don't you worry about it, okay? Because guess what? I got some things lined up. You just gotta trust me, okay? I'm all these things and more, but most importantly, I am your host with the most, Kale. You already know what I'm getting ready to say, folks, okay? 1, 2, 3, let's lock in. All right, folks, let's get into the meat and potatoes of everything that is going on in the league right now. So we have to talk about last night's game. Yes, it was a really good game. Great that it sucks for Steelers fans because the Rams did win. And so basically that sort of shoots down any speculation, any rumors, any person that's saying, oh, there's a trade going on right now between the Rams and the Steelers. No, it's not. It's over. That birdie has been shot down, okay, with the Rams winning last night. So let's get into everything. So Matthew Stafford was 25 for 34, 279 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, 8.2 yards per attempt, and a 73.5 completion percentage, okay? Kyron Williams, 23 attempts for 97 rushing yards, 4.2 rushing yards per carry, 4 rushes of 10 plus yards or more, okay? Puka Nacua, finally he comes back. 9 targets for 7 receptions, 106 passing yards, 15.1 receiving yards per reception. Sam Darnold, 18 for 25, 240 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 9.6 yards per attempt, a 72 completion percentage. Justin Jefferson, 9 targets for 8 receptions, 115 receiving yards, 14.4 receiving yards per reception. Aaron Jones, 19 attempts for 58 rushing yards, 3.1 rushing yards per carry. Now, when we look at this, this was a really good game. This is a game between between the man and the apprentice, because people forget Kevin O'Connell was under Sean McVay before he became, the head coach for the Vikings. So, all in all, it was a really good game. It really was. For Cooper Kupp to come back and then Puka Nacua to come back, definitely put an extra, a little pep, a little more juice into that Rams offense. Because let's be real here, the Rams offense, it doesn't look the same without those 2 playmakers. It just doesn't. And for them to be, available and to play the entire game last night, it was needed. It was definitely needed, and they got away with the win, which is great. Now, the only thing I think that does need to be talked about, though, is that the leaks in the Vikings defense is starting to grow. And the reason why I say that is because when you're blitzing, like the way the Vikings have been blitzing, yes, you're able to create pressure faster, and then, sometimes you can create a turnover or get a sack or a fumble, whatever the case may be. But a lot of times is that opens things up for, a quarterback to make a big play. There are certain quarterbacks that you just don't blitz. You just don't. I don't care, who you have as a pass rusher. I don't care who you have in your defense. There's just certain quarterbacks that you just do not blitz, right? And, probably the best version of Matthew Stafford that we have seen this season so far. honestly speaking here. And, the scheme that, at first when the season first started, that was looking really good, and Brian Flores, it's starting to look a little bit shaky now. Because again, now people are starting to realize, oh, okay, so this is what they're doing. Okay, so then we're going to do this, this, and this. We're going to scheme it this way. We're going to have the receivers do this. We're going to have this person do that. Boom, done. And that's exactly what happened. Now, the only problem with this was how the game ended. And it was a face mask. I don't care what anyone says, that was a face mask. And to add salt into an open wound, what makes it worse is the simple fact that the referee was right there and did not throw a flag. Even if you want to throw a flag and then you talk with, you talk with the other referees and you have them look at the replay just to see exactly what happened. Okay, cool. If you do that, great. But to just not call it when it is blatant, where you can see Sam Darnold's neck is twisting from a face mask and nothing is called, that's not how you want to end games. I understand refereeing is hard. I get that. I understand there's going to be a lot of calls that are going to be missed, and there's going to be some calls that don't need to be called at all. I get all that. But the fact of the matter is, you do not want the game to end because of the referee. You want the game to end because, okay, this team made a play before this team made a play. That's how you want things to end. Because let's be real here, folks. If something like this happened in the playoffs, let alone in the Super Bowl, oh man, it would be a firestorm when it comes to the media. The media would eat it up. They would eat it up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and maybe even for a late night snack. That's just what it is. Now, not to be a little bit biased and whatnot, but I guarantee you, if Patrick Mahomes was Sam Darnold, and that same thing, and Brian Young did what he did to Sam Darnold, best believe that flag would have been thrown. 9 times out of 10, no questions asked. So again, I'm just trying to figure out why wasn't a call or a timeout or something done just so they can review it. You have to do it. New York, you have to call and you have to say, hey, listen, that's a face mask. But at the same time, I think this is why a lot of people have been asking the league to implement a sky judge. Just so, okay, if there's a questionable call that may not make sense or may make sense, guess what? They can look at it, review it, come to a decision, and then, move forward with the game. Instead of leaving it into the hands of refs who, yes, they may not get it right all the time, but there are some calls that are blatant calls that you can see it. You can see that this was a face mask. You can see that he grabbed his face mask and turned. You can see it. Even when you look at the defense, everybody on the defense knew, oh man, that's a face mask. That's an automatic first down. And they didn't call it. That's not good. That is not how you want to end things. But again, this is football. This happens. It happens more times than what we know, honestly speaking here. But, all in all, congratulations to the Rams. This puts them back, in the winning column and, all that good stuff. Now, let's talk about a few of these games. Again, I'm telling you guys, this episode is going to be short. I've given you an hour banger this week. I've given you, I think, a 30-minute plus banger yesterday or whatever. I don't want to keep on giving you hour bangers and 45 minutes and half an hour. I don't want to keep on doing that, okay? Now, Ravens and Browns, division rival game. Everybody knows that game is definitely a knockdown, drag out type of fight, okay? But here is just some junky nuggets that I found that, definitely caught my eye. So far, Derrick Henry has scored a touchdown in every single game. And Lamar Jackson has the second highest first down conversion rate on play action dropbacks at 50%. Now, when we look at this, with Deshaun Watson not being able to play because he tore his Achilles, Jameis Winston is going to be in. The question is, with Nick Chubb coming back, will they be able to put up a fight against this Ravens defense? Because right now, this Ravens defense is on a tear. They're hot. They're red hot right now. And the only way that you can, sort of tamper things down, you got to be able to you got to match their physicality, and you got to be able to beat them. And I get it. The Browns don't look so good right now. Their season look like it's going to be a bust. It looks like they're probably going to have a high pick in the draft. But let me tell you something right now. The division rival games are not the games that you sleep on. They are not, because it'll be the team that's at the bottom of the division that you think, oh man, this is gonna be easy. And guess what? They're the ones that give you that first L or that second L or that L that that sort of humbles you. Honestly speaking here, I've seen it multiple times where a team like, for instance, the Panthers go up against the Buccaneers, and then guess what happens? Everyone is down that the Panthers aren't going to win, and then for some reason, I don't know how they do it, the Panthers win. And that's just an example. It's not real or anything like that. But that's what I'm saying. Okay. Now for the Ravens, you have to continue on with this consistency that you have in both the running game and the passing game. You do. But you have to be better with it. Okay. People are starting to get healthy, which is great. You want to continue feeding the rock to Derrick Henry. You want to continue to feed the rock to Isaiah Likely. Mark Andrews is starting to, it's starting to heat up and whatnot. So everything is starting to come together, okay, which is great. This is the perfect time for things to like really start to, lock in and glue in and whatever other words you want to use. Now, for the defensive play calling, execution, all those different types of things, it has to be better. It has to be better because, again, we are getting deeper and deeper into the season, and the margin for mistakes has to narrow down even more. Because if you're continuing to make the same mistakes that you made in the first 6 weeks and you're doing them in the last 6 weeks, that's going to put you at a disadvantage, because guess what? There's going to be an offensive coordinator or a head coach that's going to be able to see, okay, so that's a tendency. So this is what happens, okay, in this situation, this formation. Okay, yep, that's when, okay, he's in when it's that drive. Okay, yep, he's in there when it's that formation. And then they start picking you apart. We've seen it before. So, again, if the Ravens really want to be legitimate, if they want to be a team that people have to take them seriously to possibly make the run and go to the Super Bowl this year, they have to continue to be dominant. You have to continue to be dominant. You have to button up the play calling, button up the execution, all those different types of things. You have to come out guns blazing, because right now the Chiefs done retooled, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're not done making more trades and whatnot to bolster up that team. And if they make one more trade, that puts them right back in the driver's seat. So right now, the Ravens are in the front. They're right on their bumper, and then everybody else. So you have to make sure a lot of the unnecessary, things that you do. You just have to. Because again, if you don't do this now, somebody's going to get you. Whether that be your division rival or, somebody else. Not to mention, you also have the Steelers who are right behind you in the division. So if you lose this game, technically speaking, and the Steelers win their game, I think on Monday night, that puts the Steelers at the first in the division. Just saying, Ravens fan. Texans and Colts, that's also a really good matchup as well, because CJ Stroud, apparently, according to NFL Pro, shout out to them as well. They give me all my junkie nuggets. CJ Stroud has thrown 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in every single matchup against the Colts. Let's be real here, folks. The Texans do look good, but they're not dominant, right? They can be dominant. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than others, but I think with them getting Devin White, I think it might take that defense to another level. I do. You have someone who is a veteran middle linebacker who's already won a championship, who knows what it takes to win a championship, and who can sort of add a little bit of a spark in that linebacker room that's been riddled with injuries and whatnot. That's what you need. Okay. And the Colts are not a team that you just sleep on. They're not. Even though their record says one thing, best believe DeForest Buckner if I'm not mistaken, he's supposed to be playing, and then there's supposed to be other players that they're supposed to be getting back for this game. Best believe they're going to come out guns blazing. They're going to do their thing. They're going to be the game wreckers that everybody knows for them to be. And the Texans, if the Texans really want to be legitimate like how they were last year and taken serious, they themselves have to be, dominant within their division, because the division is weak. The division is weak. The only team that you really have to worry about is the Colts for right now. That's all I'm saying, for right now. But if you really want to position yourself in a good place, not only in your division, but, for the playoffs, you got to start knocking down these division games. You have to, because if you don't, you're going to put yourself at a disadvantage, and you do not want that. I promise you do not want that. Okay? Because again, this is why I emphasize division rival games so much, simply because the division rival games, you may not feel the effect now, but you're going to feel the effect after Thanksgiving, when all of those games are must-win games, and it can determine if you're going to have a high seed in the playoffs, a middle seed in the playoffs, or you're going to be going up against a team that is red hot and is ready to steamroll you, right? That's just what it is. And again, CJ Stroud, he hasn't been looking the best, but I think if he really wants to let I am who I am, then this is the game that you have to do it. Now, on to another game that is somewhat historical, but, a game that everyone is definitely going to be talking about, the Cowboys and the 49ers. Now, this game, it is a must-win game for both teams. And the reason why I say that is because the Cowboys right now, it's a lot of yapping, a lot of talking, a lot of unnecessary conversations that are being had about the Cowboys, right? And if you want to tamp those things down, you got to win. You got to win. You got to win this game, because if you don't win this game, there's going to be a lot of questions that they're going to have to be asked and are going to have to be answered, moving forward. Neither side of the ball looks productive. Dak isn't the type of quarterback who is just going to be finger pointing and name dropping and doing. He is just trying to, be honest and basically state the obvious, which is, yes, they're not playing the best right now. There are some internal distractions as well as, exterior distractions that is affecting everybody and those things, right? But it also doesn't help that Troy Aikman, said what he said, and then you have Jerry Jones sort of like reinforcing what he said, and then you have Mike McCarthy that's trying to, basically say that's not true. So it's like, it's a whole bunch of hoopla, if I would say the best. It's a bunch of hoopla. And right now, you got to silence that. And the only way you got to silence that is if you have a dominant game. If you have a dominant game, they'll talk about you in a more positive way than they will in a negative way. Now, as far as for the 49ers, this is important for y'all. Simply because, again, the team has not looked good. It does not look good. I doubt if Debo is going to play, because he recently got discharged from the hospital. If you guys do not know, he had pneumonia and fluid in his lungs. Brandon Ayuk is out for the season with a torn ACL. I mean, sure, you have Ricky Pearsall who's going to be playing, but again, this team it doesn't have that spark. It doesn't. And to say that they're basically wishing upon the star that Christian McCaffrey is going to be playing soon, I don't know. I really do not know, because again, this team relies on its star players so much that when those star players aren't playing, it's a whole different team. And even then, I would venture to say, if the 49ers win this game, it sort of tampers things down just a little bit. It doesn't necessarily, eliminate them from, playoff contention or anything like that. But, with the Rams winning, the Rams could low key go on a run. Low key. They really could. Low key, they could go on a run and start stacking up some wins. The 49ers, the weight of the world is on your shoulders, Because again, you brought everybody back together for one more year, and this is supposed to be the last hoorah. And so far, it has not looked good for you guys. You guys have been, riddled with injuries, very poor quarterback play. And, everybody knows the Kyle Shanahan offense now. Because again, as I've said before in previous episodes, all of those coordinators and people that used to work on his staff, they've all gone to other places. And they've picked up and applied a lot of the teachings and the formations and whatnot that Kyle Shanahan used and applied it to what they're doing now in their scheme. And in doing so, you have defensive coordinators who are able to pick up on it, pick it apart, and then keep it pushing. That's just what it is. Now, is there a chance that, maybe the 49ers can look dominant? Yes, there is. There's always a chance. The season is not necessarily too far out for a team to make a run, but it's starting to reach that point where if you don't have enough wins by Thanksgiving, there's going to be some conversations that are going to be had to have. Are our teams going to prepare for the draft, or are teams going to, try to fight this thing out tooth and nail? Who knows? But there is something that we do need to talk about, and I like to call it Crossroads. It's not because of Cody Rhodes. It's not because of his signature move. It's not because of any of those things. I just like Crossroads because, yes, Crossroads. I'll just leave it there. Now, I've broken things up into 4 sections, okay? Losing season, undecided, on the right track, path to a championship, okay? And so let's start with losing season. So for the teams that I have, in this category, Panthers, Browns, Raiders, Patriots, Titans, Jags. And the reason why I say that is because most likely these teams are going to be top 5, top 10 within the draft next year. Okay? Simply because, again, the Panthers, they've basically, from their actions, it basically comes off as, they realize that they probably whiffed on Bryce Young and now they're trying to tank and get a high pick and, try to see if they can get a quarterback. The Browns, their season hasn't really turned up the best, and I wouldn't be surprised after Sunday's game, if they do lose to the Ravens, that there's a fire sale. Because again, Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett are 2 names that have definitely been linked to other teams when it comes to trades. And then when you look at the Patriots are going through a rebuild. They're going through a rebuild, so this is the expectation for them to lose a lot of games, get high draft picks, and all those different types of things. The Titans, on the other hand, I don't think nobody expected the Titans, to be losing the way that they're losing. I don't think they did, especially with all the moves that they made. You trade for L'Jarius Sneed and you pay him. You get Calvin Ridley and you pay him. You get Tyler Boyd. You have Will Levis. You make him the starting quarterback, and you're thinking, oh, okay, everything's going to go in the right direction. And so far, it hasn't. It has not looked good. And then not to mention, they trade away D-Hop. And so now you have Calvin Ridley. But Calvin Ridley has been complaining about his lack of, production lately. So, again, it's not looking good for them. It really is not looking good for them. Now, for the undecided, you may be a little bit upset, but guess what? These are just my opinion. So for the undecided, I have Broncos, Rams, 49ers, Chargers, Miami, Arizona, the Bengals, Jets, Giants, Cowboys, Bucks, Saints, Colts, and Miami. And the reason why I have some of those teams is, especially for the Broncos, is the Broncos are in a place right now where, yes, they are winning, but yes, if they lose two or 3 games, they can go into the losing season, right? Right now, they're in a really good place. They are. But again, they have to continue to win. They continue to have to show, that they're on the up and up, basically. Same thing for the Chargers. As long as they can continue to stack wins, and I think as long as Justin Herbert is able to play, then, things could change. Things could definitely change because, again, the Chargers went through a lot of, turnover with, them getting a new head coach and, bringing all of his staff on, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and, all those different types of things. So, you have then. And then even for Miami, the reason why I put Miami in here specifically is simply because, their season rides on Tua's shoulders. That's just what it is. Their season rides on Tua's shoulders. If it wasn't for Tua, being concussed and, basically being out for these past few games, they probably would have a winning record right now. But, they had to go through and they had to figure out exactly what's going on with Tua and figure out, okay, does he have CTE? How bad is the CTE? Can he continue to play? All those different types of factors. And, it's actually great relief for the Dolphins because Tua has been cleared and he will be playing on Sunday. So they should be able to stack more wins, be more productive, and be the Dolphins, be the Dolphins team that everybody has known for them to be for the past few years. Same thing with the Jets, The reason why I have the Jets is simply because, again, their season rides on Aaron Rodgers so much that it's like, if they continue to lose the way that they lose, things are going to start getting ugly. It really is. And granted, yes, they have Hassan Reddick back. That's good, but you don't know exactly, how is he going to play in this, in this conundrum that is the Jets. You really don't. Yeah, I'll just leave it there. For the Bucks, their season is undecided as well because, again, you lost both of your best, offensive weapons for a while. Chris Godwin is out for the season. Mike Evans is out for a while. You're gonna have to rely on your run game more. You really are. And then the rest of your players that are on the practice squad and whatnot. So again, I can do the Bengals as well. The Bengals are a team where they can low key be a dark horse for the playoffs. Okay, they're not a team that you can just instantly just say, oh yeah, they're done for. They're not gonna go anywhere. No, as long as Joe Burrow is healthy and as long as he is throwing footballs, best believe they can low key get you. They can get you, stack up some wins, and next thing you know, they are neck and neck, just trying to find a way to get into the playoffs. But moving on to the next section, on the right track. Now for the teams on the right track, I have Buffalo, Seattle, Houston, Philly, Pittsburgh, the Commanders, Vikings, Bears, Falcons. Now with this section, these are teams that are, they are winning more than losing. They have a lot of upside on their roster. And, moving forward with their schedule, they're in a good place, right? There are teams that are teetering on the line of being playoff teams, but they're not there quite yet, right? They still have a few games that, that they have to prove it, right? So for instance, like Pittsburgh, right? With them winning against the Jets, that moved them from being undecided to on the right track simply because, again, there was a lot of questions leading into that game of, one, who was going to be the starting quarterback, how was Russ going to look, and, were they going to be splitting snaps? And, eventually they won, and so now they're starting to be a team that people have to take them seriously. They do. Again, like when we really look at it, right? They face the Giants, then they're on a bye, then they have to face the Commanders, right? The season really doesn't start getting a little bit difficult until after Thanksgiving. When you have to go through that gauntlet, when you have to go through your AFC North division rivals, the Chiefs on Christmas, I will be watching that, the Eagles and, and company. So again, when you have a team like that, when you have a team like the Commanders who, there's a good chance that Jaden Daniels isn't going to play on Sunday, so who knows how things are going to go with that. They're in a good spot, but, again, they are a team that you have to keep your eye on simply because they could go on a run. They could pick up a few wins, and the next thing you know, they're in the playoffs. I'm just being honest here. Same thing with Seattle, same thing with Buffalo, Houston, Philly. The only reason why I didn't put Philly in the category for path to a championship is because I still feel like they still need to prove, that they really are a championship caliber team. Now, can that be conquered with, teams with them making certain trades for players or certain moves? Possibly. But again, you need to see more consistency with Jalen Hurts. You need to see, the defense be better just all around. You just need to see more, right? Now, for the path to the championship, I have the Packers, the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. Not a lot of people are talking about the Packers, but the Packers are a team that you have to worry about. You do. They're not being talked about a whole lot, and I don't understand why, but Jordan Love is playing out of his mind right now, and it's not being talked about. He is playing out of his mind. That division, that division is going to produce three teams that are going to be in the playoffs. As long as the Vikings make a move to bolster up that defense and they clean up a lot of the mistakes that they are making, they can be a playoff caliber team. They truly can. Once TJ Hawkinson comes back and anybody else that plays a key role on that team, they get healthy and they come back, it's going to be some problems. It's going to be some big problems. Same thing for the Lions. Lions defense right now, they're playing lights out. They're playing lights out. Brian Branch looks like a defensive player of the year candidate. Okay? He's playing out of his mind. Jared Goff is playing out of his mind. They are running all cylinders. Okay? They are not playing any games. They are trying to punch their ticket to go to the Super Bowl and possibly win a Super Bowl. The Chiefs, as long as Patrick Mahomes is on that field, they always have a chance. They always have a chance, especially with them trading for D-Hop. And, Isaiah Pacheco is supposed to be coming back pretty soon. And then you have Juju is supposed to be coming back soon. And then other players are going to be coming back soon. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The Chiefs are at that stage of the dynasty where they're like the Patriots, where, in the first half of the season, they're looking real wobbly. You really don't know if they're going to be good or not. And it's just a bunch of unanswered questions. And then next thing you know, when that second half of the season comes, they are kicking the door down. They're going after you. They're going after you. And this is just what it is. It is. Patrick Mahomes, as long as, I'll keep on saying it, as long as Patrick Mahomes is back there, and as long as Andy Reid is the head coach, best believe there is a chance. There is hope, folks. And finally, for the Ravens. Of course, you have to put the Ravens out there simply because, the Ravens right now are on a tear. They are the best team in the league right now. And they have the best quarterback in the league right now. And they have the potential unanimous 3-time MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson on that field, right? The only thing that is stopping the Ravens from being a really historical team is the defensive play calling. That's it. If that gets a little bit better and there's a little bit more consistency, I guarantee you they are going to go on a tear. I'm talking about a tear where they could win 4, 5, 6 games in a row, no problem. Now, I will say this, Ravens fans, when you guys go up against us, you already know it's going to be a problem because that boy Mike T got his number. I'm just saying. But that's, you Lamar, But I'm going to end it here. If you guys like what you're listening, please, 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 please like, share, subscribe, download the episodes, interact with the episodes, do whatever you want with the episodes, okay? For my YouTube people, Football Junkies Pod, okay? Football Junkies Pod. Now, when you go on the YouTube, there is a link tree as access to all of our information where you can get your daily Football Junkies fix, okay? Whether that be on RSS feed, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, am I forgetting anything else? TikTok, anywhere, okay? Now, for my TikTok people, Football Junkies Pod, okay? Football Junkies Pod. TikTok people, I know I haven't given y'all clips lately, but just know I will be giving you guys some clips. Just stay tuned, okay? You got to work with me, okay? Hey, I'm doing my thing, okay? We're moving and grooving right now. We're moving and grooving. Now, for my Instagram people, Football_Junkies Pod, okay? Football_Junkies Pod. Junkies Pod is not what? It is together, not space. Now for my Instagram people, there's a link tree on there. You can click on it. It'll direct you to any and all of our other platforms that we have available. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Drink some water. Go outside. Be in some sunlight for a little bit. Watch some football. Spend time with your family and friends. Let them know that you love them. I appreciate you guys so much for the support. I would not be surprised if we hit 600 downloads before or by Thanksgiving. I would not be surprised. And if we do, best believe we are going to celebrate. We are going to continue to celebrate because why? We are on the journey to 1,000 downloads. That's right. The journey to 1,000 downloads. And guess what? You guys got the front row seat to enjoy it. Okay. You got the front row seat to see something amazing, something great being built. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. Peace and love. I'm out.